Welcome to the Empowered Midlife, where we explore the transformative journey of embracing our true selves in midlife. I'm your host, Dr. T. Join me each week as we share insights, personal stories, and yes, practical tips to live our midlife unapologetically with authenticity and empowerment. Together, we'll uncover the joy of rediscovering purpose, tapping into your inner power, and embracing the changes that come with aging. If you're ready to redefine your midlife, reclaim your health, and live life fully, fully empowered, guess what? You're in the right place. We talk about all things midlife, menopause, mindset, and of course, mental wellness. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about rewriting your story. That's a good one. How can we rewrite our stories? Well, let's talk about it. We're going to release our past, right? We're going to redefine our narrative. And I'm also going to give you 5 steps on how you can walk into your power in midlife. So I hope you got your tea ready. Let's get started. Can I start with spilling the tea first? I know we generally do that, when we're gossiping, but I want to make sure that you and I start on the same footing as we start this episode together on rewriting our narrative. So make yourself comfortable, snuggle in with that cup of hot tea, and I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to listen carefully as I spill the tea. Spilling the tea simply means the thought that I want you to keep as I go through this episode with you today. So close your eyes, and I want you to listen carefully as I spill this tea. It's our affirmation for this episode. You ready? All right. I'm not bound by my past. I have the power to rewrite my story. Every day, I choose growth, I choose healing, and I choose a future filled with purpose, joy, and limitless possibilities. You got it, sis? I hope you feel it right here. So let's talk a little bit more about how we can begin to rewrite this whole story in midlife. Midlife is a time where we can grow and develop and be the best version of ourselves for ourselves, sis. That deserved a sip of tea. We've been so busy giving to other people and showing up for other people. Now it's actually time for us to show up for ourselves. So let's understand the power of our own story. See, our own story has the ability to grow us or to shrink us, to expand us to our next level, or to keep us held hostage and bound by the trauma and the misery of our past. See, there's no growth in staying stuck in the past, but there's growth in creating. As a matter of fact, when we think about our past is what keeps us held hostage. It's what keeps us small, and it keeps us in fear of moving to our futures. See, our creative juices start flowing when we are free to be who we truly want to be. And we get to be who we truly want to be in midlife. Yeah, you gave your 20s away, you gave your 30s away, you showed up great in your 40s, but in your 50s, it's all about us. So I got a question for you, sis. I just want to ask this question. What is it about your past that keeps you held hostage there? What is the story that you keep telling yourself over and over again that every time you tell your story, there's a part of you that stays stuck there? You can smell whatever scent that happened there. You can feel whatever feeling you felt when you were there. Whatever emotion you tapped into, it's present. What is it that keeps you stuck in the past? Is it the fear of the unknown? Is it guilt or shame? Or is it just simply the comfort of familiarity? Yeah, let's just be truthful. We've all done that. We've all been stuck at some point in our lives. But in this stage of our lives, we have to learn how to simply let go. See, there's a story to be written, but we can't write the story if we're stuck in chapter 1, if we're stuck in chapter 2, if we're stuck in chapter 3 when he left us, or we're stuck in chapter 4 when our coworkers dogged us out. See, we can't begin to write a new story when we're stuck in those other chapters. So here are 5 steps that I want to share with you to help you simply rewrite your story. Oh, heck, let's be honest. Can we just be honest here? Let's forget writing a story. How about just throwing that book away and start writing a brand new book? All right, y'all ready? Here's step number 1. Step number 1, acknowledge and accept your past. I know that's hard. And some of us are like, girl, I can't forgive him for what he did. I can't forgive them for how they treated me. I can't forgive them for what they said. Well, you know the old saying, forgiveness is not for them. It's actually for you, sis. Until you acknowledge and accept your past, you can't even begin to write a new story. Why? Because there's still a part of you that's still stuck where the story happened. As many times as you tell it, that's as many times as you will stay stuck. But when you are ready, when the pain of where you are is greater than the fear and the pain of where you're trying to go, which probably doesn't even have any pain, listen, you will begin to say, I need to let go of this so I can move forward. So step number 1, in order to rewrite that story or to just even begin writing a whole new book, sis, you've got to accept the past and be willing to acknowledge what happened to you. Here's the thing, acknowledging it and accepting it doesn't necessarily mean, sis, you're going to get an apology. And you have to be okay without getting that apology. Sis, you got to move on. Here's step number 2. You've got to identify those limiting beliefs and replace them. How many of us, y'all see I already got my hand raised, how many of us have been involved in negative and toxic self-talk? Oh, I've been repeating a story. Listen, I had a story on rinse and repeat for many, many years. And finally, I had to acknowledge what happened, and I had to begin to tell myself what they think of me is not how I should be thinking of me. So you've got to identify those limiting beliefs and replace them with your story, sis. Your story. Here's the 3rd step I want you to think about. You've got to reframe your experience as lessons and not as labels. Ooh. Sis, that one spoke to me. You've got to reframe your history, your trauma, your past, your experiences, that failed marriage, those kids ignoring you. You've got to reframe all of that as experience and not as a label. How many of us are walking around with labels that other people gave us? Think about that for a second. How many of us are really walking around with labels that other people gave us? Can I go scripture on you for a second? In the beginning, in Genesis, when Adam is walking around the garden with Eve and God cannot find them, hint, hint, and I'm going to wink at that because God sees and knows everything. But God asked Adam, where are you? And Adam said, I hid myself because, wait a minute, here's the label. I was naked. He had applied a label to him that somebody had given him. And Adam took that label and made it his. How many of us are guilty of walking around with labels? Listen, can I put up 2 hands? For those of you who are listening, it's 2 hands raised. But for those of you on YouTube, you see me waving my hands. Yeah, I walked around with so many labels that other people had given me. Too short, too light skinned, too long hair, not smart enough to go to college. All kinds of labels, not good enough to keep a marriage together. Listen, been there, done that, and gave those people back their labels. Let me say that again. Been there, done that, and gave those people back their labels because I was done. Sis, I was done, listen, putting labels on myself that God didn't put on me. He said that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and here I'm walking around with a label that's not even mine. Sis, you've got to give people back their labels. Here's the next step that I want you to think about as you start to write that story. How do you see yourself in your future? Notice how I asked that question. How do you see yourself in your future? Think about that for a moment. Do you see yourself full of joy and happiness? Or do you see the same old sadness and lack of joy in your life? How do you see yourself? Stop thinking about how other people see you and start thinking about how you want to see yourself. And then here's step number 5. Take action. Now is the time for you to take action. Excuses are only good for the people who make them. That's what my father-in-law used to say. Excuses are only good for the people who make them. And when you're making excuses about not moving to your next level, that excuse is only good for you, sis. You are the only reason you are still stuck where you are. You're the only reason why you're still stuck in that story. You have the ability, you have the capacity, you have the creative geniusness to create the story that you want to live in. I know, things have happened and experiences have happened. And listen, you've got the scars to prove it. Notice I said the word scars because those scars show that you have healed and made it through. So now, as you begin to think about the future that you're ready to take action for, what does it look like? Are there places that you want to go? Are there people that you want to meet? Are there certain numbers in your bank account you want to see? Is there a certain healthiness that you want to have in your mind, your body, and your spirit? Listen, the world is waiting on you to show up. You know, that beautiful 2.0 version of you? The story can only be written by you. It can't be written by anybody else. God gave all of us one life, and that one life is our story. So I've given you 5 steps in this episode to help you get ready to write the best story of your life. You know, that 2.0 version of you? You've got to get ready, sis. You deserve to live the best life in midlife. As we go through these episodes together, you know, I start you out with that affirmation, and I also want to end you with the final drop. It's your homework assignment to get you ready for the best life that you can live. All right, now, I want you to take action. I want you to pull out pen and paper, and I want you to write this journal prompt down. It's called The Last Drop. Here we go. I want you to journal your new story. Share a snippet of your new story on social media. I know, some of you are not ready to write it out, but listen, a picture says 1,000 words. What pictures come to your mind when you think about your life? You know, the 2.0 version that you're getting ready to write. What do you want to see in your life? How do you want it to show up? That's your journal assignment. I want you to write it down, and I also want you to start posting pictures so you can see this beautiful version of yourself that's ready to emerge in what? Your new story. Listen, can I give you a hint of what's going to be in our next episode? All right, sis, get ready. In our next episode, we're going to talk about how to say yes to life's opportunities. Remember, life opens up when you do. So until the next episode, remember, you are your best author. Write the story beautifully and remember to live it spicy. I will see you then.